Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Crisis Training Communication series. Today, we're going to talk about crisis communication, which is one of the most important things our church should be aware of. Now, crisis communication is the one thing that sometimes you're not prepared for, but if you're not prepared when it happens, you don't have time to prepare for it. This is why this topic is so important. This communication series is being put together by the Kentucky-Tennessee Conference in collaboration with the Georgia-Cumberland Conference. If you're here representing your local church, let us know what church you're representing in the comments. Our presenter for today is Brian Taylor. He's the communication director for the Southern Union and just someone who is very experienced in the topic we're about to go into. So as we talk to him and you hear what he has to say, try to come up with questions and comment them in the comments below, and we will make sure to get to them at the end of the presentation. Hello, Brittany. How are you doing?
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm so happy that you're here joining us in this topic. I kind of mentioned how this is such an important topic for our local churches. Could you just tell us a little bit about it before we dive into the presentation?
Sure. We'll talk about it a little bit more later, but this matters because it's all around us. It happens every day. And if we're not prepared for it, we will fail when it comes.
Yes. You never know when it's going to happen. That's why this topic is so important.
Never know. Yeah. Never know.
All right. Well, I will give the time to you. I know you have a lot of insightful things to share with us. So thank you so much for joining us. And again, to our watchers today, when you have a question, just make sure to comment it below and we will get to it at the end of the presentation.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. I am honored to be here. It's my privilege and my pleasure to share with Kentucky, Tennessee, and with Georgia Cumberland. You all have great communication directors in both of those conferences. They do a great job, and I'm just happy to be here to share a little bit this evening. Tonight, we're going to talk about some few things, and we'll just ask the producer if he will put my presentation up. Thank you very much. We're going to talk about a few things tonight. We've kind of titled this Steady in the Storm, Crisis Communication for Ministry Leaders. So everybody's in the chat. I see a few people in the chat, and that's good. So let's get going. So here's something for you. You're in the church and it catches on fire. It's just you and maybe 3 or 4 other people. What do you do? Quickly, put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. What do you do? What do you do? You're in the church. 2 or 3 people, 4 people are meeting, and all of a sudden the church is on fire. What do you do? Let's see who's going to talk to us. Wow, everybody's afraid to share with us this evening. No one's saying anything there. That's very good. Exit the building, pull the fire alarm, call 911. Exit. Okay, yes. Let's see. Call 911. Jewel, thank you. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to see. Oh, I'm glad. So here's what happened to me once. I pastored for 28 years. Find the man who trained find the man trained to guide us. Okay. And she said that and gather other people. And I was driving down the road and my phone rings. I answer the phone. Someone says, "Pastor, the church is on fire." I said, "Oh, okay. I'll be there." No, Pastor, you need to come right now. The school's on fire. The school's on fire. And my question was, did you call the fire department? No, I called you first, and I hung up on them. They called me right back. Why'd you hang up? I don't have a fire hose. Call the fire department. I'm glad that most people said, get out of the building, pull the fire alarm. I'm glad that no one said, call the pastor. Because some things that to us are common sense. We react right away. It's an immediate response. No one had to think about, what do I do if the building's on fire? Get out the building. Call the fire department. Make sure everybody is safe. Get outside, count the people that are there. It's an immediate response. And we want that same ideal, that same thinking to happen when crisis come, that it becomes a natural response, an immediate thought. I know exactly what to do. Well, in crisis, it doesn't always happen naturally because we have to train for it. And that's kind of what we want to do this evening. Someone said, we've done the drills to periodically exit in order, Oh, and get to a certain place outside. That's very good. Very good. I like that. That's very so here is why it matters. This matters because the church is the most valuable asset. Trust is the church's most valuable asset. Perception forms very quickly in a crisis. Got to remember that. It forms very quickly in a crisis. Here's the third one. Silence communicates. When we say nothing about some things, it says a lot about it. And then number 4, how we respond reflects our leadership and our theology. So here's one. Here's another one. Put it in the chat. You're there at church. And one of the kids come and says, you know, that person over there touched me in a strange way. What do you do? Put it in the chat. That person, they touched me they just kind of, they touched me in a strange way. What do you do? People are thinking on this one. Let's see. What do you think, Richard? How are they gonna respond, Richard? What do you think? Let's see. How are people going to? How are they going to respond? Well, we have cameras, so they're going to go back and review. Okay, we have cameras. Someone said go back and review. Find their parents. Okay, very good. Find their parents. I like those. Let's see. If there's someone else who says, ask additional questions. Okay. So some people want to know. They're gonna ask some questions. Let's get one more. Let's see who else. Let's see anybody else. Okay. Pray for wisdom. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Cool. Remember, trust is the church's most valuable asset. Most valuable asset. Remember, communication is there. Silence does communicate something. So here we go. Someone comes and says, you know, oh, call the police. Hey, there we go. Number 1, report it. There you go. Report it. Find the pastor, find the first elder, find that person. Here is what a child just told me. And you report it to that person so it's known, it's out there, it's up front. Don't go into detail with the kid. Well, who was it? Why did they do it? Where were you? What were you doing? You go through and report it. And we're going to begin to lay out some steps this evening of that reporting process. Someone seek witnesses with another view. Okay. Talk to the child to make sure. Thank you, Charlotte. I hope I pronounced that right. Thank you, Charlotte. Charlotte says, talk to the child to make sure that they are all right. Very critical in that situation because children often think no one will believe me. Talk to them to make sure that they are all right. And as you talk to them, you begin to find out some things through there. So here's some things that we want to make sure. And Xander, I think I lost control. So not Xander, but Cameron, if you just go with me. Here is another reason why it matters. You have speed, accuracy, and empathy give us credibility. Remember those 3 things. Speed, accuracy, and empathy give us credibility. If something happens at your church and you wait 3 weeks to say anything about it, and everybody else is talking about it, and you're silent, it has communicated something. If something happens and you put it out and it's all wrong, that says something. You put it out, it's right, but your tone is so harsh, there's no empathy, that says something about it. So here's why this subject matters a lot. Because yes, we want to have speed, you have to have accuracy, but you have to have empathy when doing it so that now you have credibility as you do it. So let's look at some things of what a crisis actually is. Here's what a crisis is. Remember this, it is a reputation defining event in the life of your organization. Reputation defining event. It is unpredicted, but not unexpected. Unpredicted, but not unexpected. It has greater impact than an incident. Here's another one. It presents danger and opportunity. That crisis presents both. And then here's the last one. It disturbs stakeholder expectations. We're going to talk a little bit about stakeholder expectations. But a crisis is something that is a reputation defining event in your organization. It's something that will make you better or it will break you. It will make you worse. So let's look at some of the things that make up a crisis. A crisis is any event that threatens safety, that endangers reputation, that undermines trust, that interrupts ministry operations, or that requires immediate leadership response. Those are crises. It threatens safety, damages reputation, undermines trust, interrupts the ministry of your church, or it requires an immediate leadership response. Those are things that make up a crisis. Let's look at some common crisis categories. Here's some common ones. Staff misconduct or moral failure. That's a major crisis in the church. Any misconduct or any moral failure. Abuse allegations. Any type of abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, verbal abuse. We had a situation where there were a group of kids and they had one of the leaders that just verbally abused them. It was so bad that someone stepped in and said, "You need to go home. We're taking over. You go home." Verbal abuse, financial mismanagement is a crisis in the church. That's a difficult one, a lot for people to handle. Safety incidents. Here's one: social media controversies. We find it a lot in this day and age where everyone wants to be a person that breaks the news or wants to be the first one to share information, and they begin some things that should not take place. And then there are just natural disasters that happen that are going on. We want to talk a little bit though about stakeholders, because we talked about things about that stakeholders do. So let's look at some things who are some primary stakeholders. Some primary stakeholders, they are individuals that can stop the organization. Their actions can stop the organization. So who can do that? You have members, you have employees, you have pastors, you have educators. They can stop some. But let's look at some secondary stakeholders. Those, members get mad, they can shut everything down and they stop giving, they stop coming. They can stop it. Here's some secondary stakeholders. Some secondary stakeholders are those whose actions can influence and it can damage, but it cannot stop the operations of the organization. It can influence it, it can damage it, but it can't stop it. The largest group of secondary stakeholders now are social media influencers. It's those, the YouTubers, people on Facebook, Instagrammers. They're the largest secondary stakeholder. And we have to make sure that we address them, because while they can't stop the church from running, they can disrupt it, they can damage it, and their influence can create havoc. So we want to do that. So we want to look at some steps in terms of preparation for this whole thing. So let's look at some steps for preparation for this whole thing. So go down two more for me. Go again. One more. There we go. Thank you. Preparation. So we want to make sure that we organize a crisis management team. In your church, there should be a crisis management team. There should be a crisis management team so that when the church if the church catches on fire, that crisis management team is called. They know what to do. They're ready and they're set up. You need to have a spokesperson, someone who has been trained to talk to the media and to share information. You want to have a crisis management plan. Kind of go through some things and develop a crisis communication plan. So in your crisis management plan, you want to have scenario. The church catches on fire. What do we do? And begin to go through those steps. Because your church catches on fire, the likelihood of you having service in that church on Sabbath is very slim. So what's the contingency plan? Have you talked with a neighboring church in the area that you can then utilize their church while your church is being rehabbed? You don't want to be in the situation where the church has burned down on Friday and you're trying to figure out, then what are we going to do in the morning for church? You want to have that as a part of your plan. You've already talked to Pastor so-and-so at the church that's 2 blocks away, and they are willing to allow you all to use their church in the case of any emergency, in the case of any kind of damage. It could just be that a bad storm came through and it blew the roof off. What are you going to? So that's all a part of that plan that's in place, that the team has put together and that they've worked through and are in place so that when those things do come up, you're ready to go. One of the major things that happen during crisis is what we call the 60-minute time. You have 60 minutes to make sure that you have everything in place, ready to go, and you know the steps that you're going to take. So I want to walk you through those 5 things. There's 5 critical things. Number 1, you want to confirm the facts. Make sure that you have the facts. You don't want to have speculation. You don't want to have I think or I heard or it could be. Confirm the facts. Simple questions. What happened? What happened? Confirm the facts. Number 2, activate your response team. That's that communication team that you put together, that crisis team that you put together to be able to begin to move forward. The third thing is determine the communication level. Is this just internal or is it external? Is this something that is just that would just concern the church, or does it concern the public? Is it community? Is it just something that the members of your church and the church board need to be aware of, or is this something that the community around you, the larger community, needs to be informed about? Those things need to happen. The fourth one is that you begin and you have your draft. You draft your holding statement. It's just a statement that says to let people know you're aware of what is taking place. You're gathering all the facts. You're finding out what happened, and that you will keep them abreast of what's going on. That's just your holding statement. And then you have your communication channels that you will control. Do we take this to Facebook? Is this YouTube? Is this a newsletter? Is this a press release? Do we call the television station? And you begin to talk about what those channels are and how you move through those channels and share information with people in those channels. So we have those 5. Now let's take our time and just kind of walk through those 5 steps. Here's step number 1. Step number 1 is confirm the facts. Here are the questions that you want to ask. What is verified? You told me what happened, but what is verified? What is alleged? Who is involved? Is anyone in danger? Because the last one is the most important one, because you do not want to communicate speculation. So you take your time through those 4 questions. What is verified? What is alleged? Who is involved? Is anyone in danger? Because you do not want to communicate speculation. Let's go to step number 2. Step number 2, we said, was to activate your response team. Your response team, your pastor, your communication director, your board. It could be legal counsel. And you have 1 spokesperson. 1. one spokesperson. You have one spokesperson. You don't have 5 people out there telling the story. You have one. You control the narrative with one message from one person. But that could be your activating of the response team, the pastor, your communication director, your church board, or your leadership. Make sure that team. Here's number 3. Let's go. We talked about the message. Is it internal or is it public? Is it for the church or is it for the community? So you ask yourself, well, is this already public? Do people already know about this? Are people already talking about this? How did we find out about it? That's one. The second one is, does it involve safety? Is this an issue that involves safety of people or individuals or groups? Does it involve safety? The third one is, will it become public? Some things will never become public. They just kind of smolder out and they die out and they're done. And then the last one there is, are authorities involved, or the police involved, or the fire department, whoever it is, or authorities involved? That helps you to determine if this is something that's just internal, that's just within the church to be shared, or if it's something that's external. If it's public, it needs to be shared with the larger community that is around you. So that's 3. We talked about then number 4, we talked about a holding statement. So here we go. I'm gonna help you with some things about a holding statement. Here we go. We are aware of the situation or are actively involved in gathering information. That could be your holding statement. The safety and well-being of our church family and community is our highest priority. We will share updates as they become available. The areas of your holding statement. So an excellent, easy, simple holding statement that lets people know we know what we've heard about it. We're aware of the situation. We're getting our information together. We're finding out what happened. We want to make sure that everyone is safe because that is our priority above everything else. And when we find out, we'll let you know. When we hear, you hear. What that does is it helps you to communicate so that you're not silent. Because when something happens and you're silent, people begin to write the story for themselves and they share the story. And then it is full of error and full of speculation. And you know how the old game we used to play was someone whispered in your ear and they told you something and you told the next person and then the next person and you just kept going all the way around. And when it got to the end, you asked the last person to tell the first person what it was. And it is so far, sometimes it's so far removed from what the first person said. It has grown so much. It has been, so many things have been added to it that is so far from the truth. And so this is what the holding statement will do. It lets them know we're on top of it and we're going to let you know as soon as we know. And then people kind of hold back from doing some things and they refrain from just jumping out there with information. We did talk about a spokesperson. I just want to give you the primary goal of a spokesperson and their role is to manage the accuracy and consistency of the message that's coming from your organization. That's what you do in selecting your spokesperson. Their primary role is to manage the accuracy and consistency of the message that's coming from your organization. That's what that spokesperson does. That's their whole goal, is to manage the accuracy and consistency of the message coming from your organization. So you have one so that they have the same story, the same message, the same narrative, and it's full of accuracy that's going out. So that's kind of where we are on that. So we want to look a little bit about some things that if you must speak, we said if it's internal or if it's external, if it's just within the church, if it's something that needs to be shared with the wider community. If you must speak, so I'm gonna ask if you'll kind of go down 2 slides for me to that slide. Here we go. We'll give you a mnemonic. One more slide for me. We'll give you a mnemonic that will help you in this situation if you must speak. 4 things. You ready? News. Share the news. Remember, we said gather the facts, find out what is verified, what is alleged, the news, so that when you share it, you're sharing the facts, sharing the news. Here is what happened. Here is what took place. Here is what we know. Number 2, you want to share and give assurance. You want to give assurance. Number 3 is a very important part, and that is your message point. Number 3 is your message point. This is your opportunity to highlight and shine your organization. The message point. The Wayside Seventh-day Adventist Church is a 110-year-old church. It has been active in this community for 110 years. We have been at this location, and these are the things that we have done. And you just kind of enumerate 2 or 3 things about the organization so that people know, yeah, I know that church. Oh, I didn't know they did that. That's interesting. So it's your turn to highlight who you are and what you're doing. And then most importantly, you want to end with an update of a promise. You want to update them. You want to promise that you're going to let them know when we find out more information, we'll be sure to share it with you. Now, if you tell someone, when I learn more, I'll tell you more, be sure to tell them more when you learn more. News, what are the facts? It has come to our attention that so-and-so this has happened. This is what we know right now. We want to give you assurance. All the kids are safe. It has come to our attention that on Tuesday afternoon, about 2:00 this afternoon, a car ran through the fence of the school. All the children are safe. The school went into an immediate shutdown. Every kid is safe. The Seaside Seventh-day Adventist Christian School is a parochial school that has been in our community for 16 years. We provide Christian education. We provide, and you just kind of list 2 or 3 things about the school. As we find more out about this situation, we will be sure to let you know. But right now, all the kids are safe and everything is good. And then you end, and you've done that to let them know that you've been on top of it. So here's a couple of sample phrases to kind of help you start off if you in a situation where you have to write something, or even you just have to tell someone to speak to them. It has come to our attention. We are saddened to learn about. This is an unfortunate situation. Here's a good one. This is an isolated incident. We are monitoring the situation. We are cooperating with the authorities. We will do everything in our power to, and you finish out that sentence. We will continue to serve this community, and we will keep you informed of further developments. Just some sample statements, sample phrases to help you get started or to use throughout that as you're sharing with people about what is taking place and about what has happened or about what is going on. I'm sorry, my tongue got tied on that one. So let's kind of go down, and here's something fun for you. So go down to church crisis for me. Go down to church crisis. Here are a couple of church crises that you probably never thought about. When the people were drowned in the Red Sea. When Peter cut off the soldier's ear. Can't you hear that story? What? Wait. The man of peace has a person who promotes violence. He cut the man's ear off. That was a crisis. Here's another one. Eutychus falling out of the church window. Anybody remember Eutychus? I'm not going to say anything about it. Put in the chat who Eutychus was, if you remember who Eutychus was. That could have been a serious church crisis. Might put that in the chat if you remember who Eutychus was, and we'll come back. If you don't, I'll tell you who it was, and you'll understand why it was a great crisis. When Jesus healed the demoniac, and those pigs were killed going over the hill, crisis. Because the question is, who's paying for that man's pigs? Yeah, I get it. He helped that guy, and the guy's healed. He's not crazy anymore. But what about those pigs, man? That's my living. What are you doing? How are you gonna fix that? What's going on with that? That's a crisis. Um, here's a good one. That's a funny one. The guys who mishandled the ark and they were struck with hemorrhoids. Remember that one? That's church crisis. But don't y'all holy stuff caused this problem. Now we have a medical problem now. We have an issue. We have a crisis that's happening. What's your church gonna do about this? You know, if it was that dangerous, you should have had security around it. You should have had somebody protecting it. Things that were a crisis, and then this last one, Noah building the ark, because people were concerned and frustrated and upset because of all the noise that he was creating and the public nuisance that was going on. So let's see who was Eutychus. Let's see. Someone said they said it was at Paul's long, not at the long sermon when Paul was preaching. The guy was, I remember somebody. Let's see if somebody gets it about the guy that he fell asleep and fell out the window. Yeah, Paul preaching all night. Here's one: a young man from Troas who fell asleep during Paul's preaching. A long time he fell out the window of the building. Yes, it was a little kid who fell out the window of the church. That's a crisis. Can you imagine all of the advocacy groups for children's safety? OSHA showing up. Everybody's coming around now because what kind of church you running that people just fall out of windows and they hurt themselves? Crisis that would have happened. So crisis is not new. It's always been there, and it's always been around. And how it's handled is what matters. And so you have to remember that even though it's something that was beyond your control, here is one thing that's very important, and that is that your tone matters. Your tone matters. Your tone matters. So here are 4 things that you want to remember about when you're sharing information, when you're writing it. 4 things you want to remember about why tone matters. Number 1, you want to avoid defensive language. You can kind of go to the next slide for me. Avoid defensive language. You want to do that, number 1. Number 2, you want to avoid blame shifting. Avoid blame shifting. It's not your fault. You didn't have anything to do with it. They're attacking the church. They're attacking you. You don't want to have defensive language and sharing it. And you don't want to begin to shift the blame onto someone else. Number 3, listen to me. Write number 3 down. Make sure you get number 3. Make sure you don't miss number 3. Avoid over spiritualizing things. Some things are just what they are. Avoid making this great spiritual application to it and spiritualizing. Then number 4, always be calm, clear, and compassionate in your conversation. Be calm, clear, and compassionate in your conversation and in your communication. Now, those are things that you want to make sure that you have. Here's what I don't want you to do. Here's number 1. Do not speculate. Do not speculate. And do not post emotionally. Don't run to social media, to your church's Facebook page, to your church's Instagram, and begin to post right away. Don't post immediately. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to do this. Think once before acting. Think twice. You can go to the next one. Think twice before speaking, and then think 3 times before posting on social media. Think once before acting. Think twice before speaking. But I want you to think 3 times before you post it on social media so that you are not responding emotionally. Here we go. So we're going to keep going. But what not to do? But I want you to speculate. Don't post emotionally. Do not allow multiple spokespersons. One person, one message. And then here we go. do not say no comment. So put in the chat, why no comment? Do not say no comment. And then do not minimize concern. Because the concern is real. Whatever it is, the concern is real. Don't minimize, please do not minimize the concern. But I'm sitting here waiting. I'm waiting and looking for why you say no comment. So what qualities should a spokesperson have? You want to have someone who is level-headed, pretty calm in their demeanor, someone who is good under pressure. You want to have someone who can speak consistently with their message. And you want someone who is able to listen to the question, get the question, and to be able to respond appropriately and accordingly. You got to have somebody who is thinking fast on their feet. And then you want someone who definitely has been trained in this area to share and to speak to the media. So let's see. Let's see what you are. Why no comment? Why anyone no comment? Others may think that you're hiding something. Leah is correct. They'll think Charlotte hit it on the head. Their first thought is, oh yeah, they're guilty. Yeah. And then Leah, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, it leaves room for speculation. No comment does those things. They'll think, oh yeah, they know, they just don't want to say. They're hiding something, they're covering something up. But yeah, they're guilty. They did it, and they know who did it, and they know how it happened. And then it does leave that room for speculation. So if you don't know what to say, so you're in a situation and you don't know what to say, you don't say no comment, and you may know the answer. Your response is, that's a very good question. At this time, I am not prepared to answer it. At this time, I am not authorized to share information about this. Here is who you can contact. And you give them whoever the communication leader is for that thing, who your media response person is. And then you share that, and they are versed and trained to handle that. But you don't go out there and blow it up and begin to open up things and doors for everyone else, because that will make it very, very difficult for everyone else. So I want you to remember this. A crisis does not define a church. If you can go to that next one for me. A crisis does not define a church. Keep going down. It's probably 2 or 3 down. There we go. A crisis does not, you passed it. Crisis does not define the church. Sorry about that. But how the church respond does. So whatever crisis that happens, it does not define the church. Because remember, a crisis is a reputation defining event. The crisis doesn't define the church. How the church handles it defines the church. And that's the point that makes or breaks. That's the point that says, "Oh, we made it through this one. We're good. Wow, we blew that one, and we're good." I want to take you down. Let's see. Here, if you can go down to the one that says Abundant Christian School. Here is one that took place. There was a school shooting in Madison, Wisconsin. Here was their statement. Prayers requested. Today we had an active shooting incident at the Abundant Life Christian School. We are in the midst of following up. We will share information as we are able. The school posted this on its Facebook page. Please pray for our Challenger family. Phenomenal statement. They put out as a holding statement. This was a statement, boom, prayers requested. And then they kind of stated what happened. And then they ended. Excellent way to do that. because the storm will come, but you can be steady in the storm. You can be steady in the storm and through the storm because you have been prepared, you've been ready, you've worked through it, you've practiced, you've done trials, you've trained. And so when it comes, you're like, okay, it's natural, kicks in, and you're ready to go. Just a few things that we want to share with you on this topic of being steady in the storm, crisis communication for church leaders. Thank you very much. It's been my privilege and my honor to take this time to share with you. And I want to just turn it back over to our host and our leaders.
Thank you, Vitu, so much for that presentation. And I think when we think of communication, and we're so thankful for our church communication leaders, we always think of the fun things. I feel like sometimes, live streaming, social media, graphic design, and crisis communication is one of the things that's kind of like in the back of our mind. But like you've mentioned, we have to be prepared because we don't know when it's going to happen. And for those of you who don't know, like whenever we've had a crisis here at Kentucky, Tennessee, I always call BT for advice, and he's always helping me in what to do. So, he's someone who's very knowledgeable and has a lot of good things to share. So, if you have any questions from his presentation, make sure to comment them below. And yeah, I think we've already gotten actually a few questions coming through. So we're going to start with that and just continue to encourage you guys to leave your questions below. So let's go to the first one. First of all, will these slides be available after training? Are you able to share your slides with us for our church members?
Yes, in fact, I was just putting in the chat, but yeah, I'll share that with the communication leaders, and then you all can determine how to disseminate it and share.
So for Georgia Cumberland, we're gonna have Richard he's gonna be contacting you with the slides, and then here in Kentucky, Tennessee, I'll make sure to send it as well to our church members. Let's go to the next question. Okay, so what is the first steps a church communicator should take when they hear about a crisis? So those very first seconds, and like you said, the first hour, what should they be doing?
So that they're a church communicator?
Yeah, you're the church communicator.
So here we go. You're the church communicator, and you hear of a crisis. The number one step, call your pastor. Number one step, call your pastor. If the pastor's out of town, then you want to call your communication director for the conference. That's your number one steps. You want to call that person because your pastor's supposed to call the communication director. If they're not around, then you directly contact the communication department in your conference and share with them, here is what just happened at our church.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is so important. And, here in the Kentucky Tennessee Conference, as I'm sure as well in Georgia Cumberland, we're here ready to help you out. We've been training this. We've been dealt with it before. And, we're here. So just make sure to reach out to us at any time during those moments. Let's see what the next...
If I can elaborate this. And then for the pastors that are in the group, here we go. It happens. You want to contact the communication director in your conference. But you want to make sure that your leadership knows what happened and what's going on. And make sure that your elders or your board, that they know what's going on. And then after you have talked with the communication with the conference office, you've talked with your leadership. Once you've been through that and the conference communication has gotten back to you, you want to communicate to your members. Talk to the conference office, let your elders know, but you want your members to know. And the easiest way to let your members know is with the holding statement. Just a holding statement so that they don't hear it from somebody else. Because what you don't want to happen is for your member to hear it from somebody across town or in another state. And it's right there in their church and they didn't know anything about it. So those are important steps to make sure that you do. Okay. I'm sorry, Paul, I interrupted you. Go ahead. Yes.
Oh, no, that's really good. And I really appreciate you for adding that context as well. Yeah. And like you said in the presentation, when you contact your communication directors to have the facts ready as much as possible, we're going to help you, but we also don't have the context beginning with. So start gathering those facts. Let's go to the next question. Should comments turn off on social media during a crisis? Why or why not?
Well, there are two sides. One, I would say rather than turn them off, assign a moderator. If you have a social media channel, well, you should have a moderator anyway. If you have a social media channel, there should be someone who is monitoring and checking those comments on the channel. Especially during a crisis, there should be someone who's there who has information. If it's nothing more than a holding statement, here is what we have to share with you right now. And put the holding statement up. And then as they're monitoring, they see the conversation going off the rails and going down. No, we don't know that. We don't want to speculate. We're going to hold on and we're going to wait till we receive information and we're going to continue sharing the information. That's the moderator. Because turning them off, people are like, what is it they don't want us to know? And then they will carry on their own message. Because in a crisis, you want to control the narrative. You control the narrative, and the best way to control the narrative is when it comes from you to everyone, and then you are around to keep it within the boundaries that you need to stay in, and you kind of shy other people off who have gone off the reservation to make sure that you stay focused on what's going on and the issue that's at hand.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for that. Let's go to the next question. I think this is a really good one. It just came through the comments. So you mentioned in your presentation to not place the blame on someone, but what if there is a clear perpetrator? What do you do in that case?
Oh, yeah. I mean, even if there is a clear perpetrator, it is still your Christian duty, and it's still within your Christian character that you don't blast that person and put them on Front Street. There's someone else who is a part of the situation that will take care of what needs to be taken care of. The clear perpetrator. The authorities will handle what needs to be handled. The church board will handle what needs to be handled. It'll be taken care of. But don't blast brother so-and-so or sister so-and-so, because that was a bonehead decision by them. Why would they leave the kids at the campsite by themselves? They know they were camping in an area where there were wolves and bears. Why would they do that? Let the park rangers handle that. Yeah. So you even if there is a clear perpetrator, you don't want to blast them, embarrass them, and put them on Front Street.
Mm-hmm. Now, kind of adding to that question, and that's my own thought, not a question, a comment here. How do you do that while at the same time taking accountability?
Wait, say that one more time. How do you do?
How do you do that? Not blasting anyone, but at the same time, as a church, taking accountability for the parts where you should have been responsible, or should you?
Yes. Okay. So something takes place, and the church is responsible for that taking place.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So that's one to make sure. Yeah. So that happens, but it doesn't happen at that moment where you're sharing the information. It has come to our attention that there's been some mismanagement of funds. We're working very closely with the General Conference auditors who are doing a thorough investigation of our books. And we will share information as we have it. Mm-hmm. The GC auditors come back or the conference auditors come back, and it has shown that funds are really missing. That the $3 million that you put aside for the youth center is gone. It's gone. And they've said who it was. You let them handle the who it was. And you share that it has been confirmed that those funds are missing. Here are the steps that we are now taking to make sure that this event does not happen in the future. You give the assurance. You let somebody else put the handcuffs on somebody, or or do whatever needs to be done, not you.
Yeah. And I think the last part is so important, being able to provide like a promise, accountability of how you're going to be fixing the steps moving forward. So let's go to the next question. Should you admit fault during a crisis? What if not all facts are known?
Should you admit fault during a crisis? And what was the last part?
What if not all facts are known?
What if all not facts are known? No. Okay. Just think about it. When you have a car accident, your insurance company tells you right off the bat, you don't say it was my fault. Your insurance company tells you they tell you off the bat, you don't say it was my fault. It opens you up to so many other liabilities. Yeah. So you don't admit fault. It's a very unfortunate situation that's taking place. We are very concerned about all the people, and then you go to your message and you keep moving, but you don't admit fault. Now, give me the last part of the statement, though, Paula.
What if you don't know all the facts yet?
Oh, yeah, and if you don't know all the facts yet, the best thing is to not talk. Yeah, if you don't have the facts, the best thing is not to talk.
I just put out that holding statement.
You put the holding statement up, you leave it out until you find out confirmed information. Mm-hmm. There are enough people who are going to speculate. Don't let the speculation come from the organization where the event took place.
No, that's true. Now, here's a good one. How do we contact the communication leaders if the crisis happens after hours? And I'm guessing this refers to the church leaders as well as the conference leader, or maybe even the union leaders.
Yeah. Okay.
BT, what time have I called you before? Have I called you after hours?
Well, I think this will answer that question, and I'll share this. I'll share this with everyone that's on the line. Crisis does not punch a time clock. It doesn't have any hours. It doesn't have regular work hours. Crisis managers don't have regular hours. Their hours start when the crisis happens, and it ends whenever the crisis is over. I have a very good friend who handled major crisis in the city. He started that crisis at 3:00 on a Tuesday afternoon. That crisis did not end until about 3:00 Friday morning. So what do you do when a crisis happens in the middle of the night? You dial that phone number and you call them and you wake them up and you say, I'm so sorry to call you at this hour, but you know what they're going to say? If you call them at 3:00 and we know what they're going to say, what's wrong? Just call the pastor at 3:00 in the morning. Okay, what's wrong? Where do I need to be? What's going on? That's a part of their responsibility. That's a part of their duty. That's a part of the calling that they have as a professional, that they respond to the need when the need happens.
Mm-hmm. And that's so true. Again, as communication directors here at Kentucky, Tennessee, and Georgia-Cumberland, we are always happy to help you. We are, I usually share my phone number with church members. They're able to call me and text me at any point. And Georgia-Cumberland is also here, happy to help as well for those in that territory. Let's go to the next question. How can church communicators help pastors or leaders prepare for questions from members?
From members.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. How can you help them prepare from questions from members? And I'll go back to it here. Let me find it. Avoid defensive language. Avoid shifting the blame. Avoid over-spiritualizing. And adopt a calm, clear, compassionate communication. It's the slide that says tone matters. It's that slide. This is how communication directors can help pastors answer questions from members, making sure that they avoid that they're not defensive in their language. They're not blaming someone else or something else. And they're not making it so spiritual that it's not even relevant to what's happening in that person's life or what's happening in that church. And that they always remain calm and that they're clear and compassionate in their communication.
Thank you. I'm just going to go back to the last question a little bit about, reaching our communication leaders after hours. Somebody commented that sometimes we don't have our communication leaders' phone numbers. Well, your pastor will have their phone numbers. So your pastor should be able to contact us if you're not able to. So just wanted to add that context there as well.
You have the pastor's phone number. Dial it at 2:57 a.m. and he will call the communication director at 2:59. Yes, he'll call that person.
All right, let's do one more question here. How should a church respond if media outlets contact them for comment?
Okay, very good. So a crisis happens. Excuse me. Okay, a crisis happens. Here's how the church responds. Number one, because the crisis has happened, the pastor's been notified, the officers have been notified, the church staff has been notified. Here's what took place. Here's the holding statement that we received from our communication director. When the media calls, here is what you share with them. When they call, here's our holding statement, or here's our actual statement. Yeah. When they call, here is who you tell them to contact. But that person does not comment on it. They don't speculate on it. They don't ask them questions about it. It is, we are aware of that, and they read the holding statement. Or it is, yes, we have a statement. If you will give me an email address, I'll make sure you receive the statement. I had a situation in a city where there was a bomb threat, and I was talking with the school principal. It was at the school. I talked to the school principal, and I said, so now the media is on their way. I said they're on their way because the police department is there, has come out, SWAT is there, EMS is there, the fire. They're listening to the scanners. The media is on their way. When they come, let them know we have a statement. If you will give me your contact information, I will make sure you receive it. I said, and that's all you say to them. We were working on the statement. We got the statement done. I called them. I said, check your email. The statement is there. She printed it off and she hung up. She said, I have it. Thank you very much. She called me back 10 minutes later. She said, you won't believe what happened. I said, the media rang the doorbell of the school. She said, I took the statement off of the copier, went to the door, and it was the media with the microphone. He was standing there, we heard that there was a bomb threat at the school. What do you have to say? He said, we have a statement, and here it is. Handed the person the statement. The person took the statement. They went to the end of the parking lot, went back to the truck. The satellite went up in the air, and they went live, and they read that statement. And that was the end of it. And so that's what happens for the church, is that you let that staff at the church know so that they're trained. If the media calls, here's what you share with them. If they show up, here's what you tell them. Here's our holding statement. Read it or hand it to them. We have a statement. If you give me your email address, I'll make sure that you receive it. They're at the door. Here is our statement. And you hand it to them, and that's it. And then you let everyone else who is in that line of authority to handle the rest of it from there.
And that's a really good example and a really good point. Again, just be prepared for the moment like that. If you had waited until the media showed up to craft a statement, then it wouldn't have worked out as nicely.
It wouldn't have worked as nicely.
Well, we're going to do here our last final question. What tools or resources would help you feel more prepared?
That will help an individual feel more prepared?
I think as a church communicator leader who, has to be prepared for a crisis when it does happen, what tools or resources will help you feel more prepared?
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can unhide and up. And I'll see if I can share this. I have a slide that was not, that was not a part of that presentation. And I'll see if I can share the screen and they can select this slide. They won't. And so here's what I do. It's not there. So here's what I will do. In this, I will include that slide in this presentation for everyone. And it's a QR code that will lead them to a crisis. There it is. He found it. Can you put that one up? Okay, there we go. Yeah. So I must have had it in there after all. And that QR code will take you to some very pertinent and important information of how to handle crisis, some steps to go through, and some other various things. I do want to thank our producer who is on the other end. They are taking care of it. They're taking care of things there. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. But so that takes you to the crisis communication guide for the Southern Union. It's the Southern Union Crisis Communication Guide. Let me see if that's the one. No, what's
really important is to become familiar with this now when the crisis is not happening versus when it actually happens.
And that particular one that's up now is to ready.gov. It's the government site that is full of resources for various crises. It helps you with all types of natural disaster crisis, active shooters, abuse. There are various things that are happening in that particular one that it will take you to all kinds of things. There we go. They put the link in the chat for you as well.
Yeah. And as communications here, directors in the conference, we also have resources that we can provide to you. Again, this is about preparing before the storm. Don't prepare during the storm. You have to get your shelter, your water, your whatever you need at the storm ahead of time. And one of the ways to do that is to get in touch with us, your communication directors. We're happy to provide resources as well. All right. Well, BT, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. It's been a great presentation and hopefully a wake-up call to all of us about being ready during the storm.
Thank you so much. It's been my privilege and my pleasure and honor to be here with you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching. I hope you have a good night.